Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to start a book called Counting Coup by Joseph Medicine Crow. It's how he became a Crow chief on the reservation and beyond. This is his story. So, what I'm going to do each day is I'm going to read a chapter or two, depending on the time and how long the chapters are, till we get to the end of the book. This book was actually um, published by National Geographic. And what happens, this is a way of how they lived in their lives and how they became chiefs in the world, in their tribe. So first, what I'm going to start off with is the introduction. And it does a little bit of explanation about this. And it's called A Warrior Tradition. In the old tribal days, a Crow warrior had to perform 4 different types of war deeds, 4 coups, in order to become a chief. The most important, most respected coup was to sneak into an enemy camp at night and capture a prized horse, perhaps a buffalo horse, a war horse, or even a parade horse. The daring warrior had to slip into the camp unnoticed and find such a valued horse in front of the owner's teepee. Usually, the horse would be inside a corral or enclosure made of bush poles or logs. Sometimes the owner would have tied one end of the rope around his horse's neck and the other around his own wrist. If the horse moved around during the night, the owner would wake up and crawl to the teepee entrance to make sure his horse was safe. If a Crow Indian or any other Plains Indians for that matter was cunning enough to go into the corral, untie that rope, take the horse out of the camp without waking anybody, and bring it back home, why, that was an amazing achievement. That coup is called capturing a horse. Another coup was to touch the first enemy to fall in a battle. When the warriors from 2 tribes fought each other, the person knocked off his horse became a trophy, and warriors from the other side would attempt to reach the fallen warrior and touch him with a hand, a riding whip, or maybe the tip of a bow. Sometimes warriors carried a special wand for touching the enemy. This wand, called a coup stick, was wrapped in fur and adorned with eagle feathers. For a third coup, a warrior could take away his enemy's weapon, his knife, tomahawk, spear, pistol, or bow. The fourth type of coup, usually the last requirement, was to lead a successful war party. After a warrior had completed the first 3 coups, sometimes several of each, and had proven himself a good, promising warrior, he would be given the opportunity to lead others into danger. If the war party was successful, if it returned with horses and other trophies, and if all the warriors returned home safely, the leader of the war party received credit for a coup. There were the 4 coups that a Crow warrior had to accomplish in order to become a chief. There were no shortcuts. Each coup involved risking one's life. Many a young warrior was killed right in front of an enemy teepee while trying to capture a prized horse. Attempting to count coup on a fallen enemy was also extremely dangerous. Maybe the enemy was just dazed, maybe he realized he was a trophy, a potential target, and was just sitting there with his gun loaded or his bow and arrows ready to shoot the person who tried to touch him. Even if he was dead, his comrades might be nearby ready to leap on a warrior trying to count coup on the fallen brother. Attempting to take a weapon away from an enemy also was fraught with danger. He might be bigger and stronger than you, and he might get you instead. Commanding a war party was an awesome responsibility. When things got really tough, the leader had to make sure that his men could escape, even if it meant having to stay behind and give up his own life. All 4 requirements for chieftainship were difficult to accomplish. Attempting any of them could mean putting your own life on the line. Chapter 1, Winterman. When I was born on October 27th, 1913, there were no doctors or nurses around with their instruments, just a medicine woman who specialized in child delivery. With incense of burning cedar and the singing of sacred songs, I came into the world. I was singing too, but they probably thought I was wailing. On the fourth day after a child is born, it is a custom of the Crow people to call in a clan uncle or another important person to give a name to the newborn child, girl or boy. When I was born, there happened to be a Sioux Indian visiting my grandfather Yellowtail, so they asked him to give me a name. He was honored because Sioux have the same tradition. I am glad that you asked me to do that, he said, but I am going to tell you a story first. I have been a warrior for a long time. I came over here to fight you crows many times, till the war days were over. 7 times you people shot me with bullets and arrows, and each time was winter time, but I survived all of them. I must have a good life or charmed life, or I must be tough. So I'm going to give this little boy a name that commemorates my experiences fighting you crows. I am going to name this little boy Winterman so that he too may be strong, healthy, and withstand adversities in life. So that was a given name, Winterman. I carried that name for many years. For short, they called me Winter. I was raised by many different relatives, but I spent most of my early years with my mother's parents, the Yellowtails, in their log house located about 4 miles south of the nearest town, Lodge Grass, Montana. Although my grandfather Yellowtail had not been a warrior, he raised me to be one, to be tough and strong like the old time warriors. When I was 6 or 7, he started my physical education regimen. I remember it was cold, maybe November, and snow was on the ground. One morning, grandfather said, "All right, get up, put on your pants and shirt, that's all. Don't put on your shoes. Now run around the house once in the snow barefoot." So I did. I'll tell you, my feet were really cold when I came back in. Well, the next day he said, run around the house twice. Then it was 3 times, 4 times, until I got up to 20 times. I had to run around that house each morning, no matter how cold it was outside. He gradually saw that that my feet were tough and able to withstand the cold. Then one morning he said, all right, now the next one. Don't put your clothes on. Run over to the sagebrush over there, pointing to a bush about 50 yards away. Run over there, and when you get there, flop down on your back and roll over. Roll around about 4 times one way and then the other way, and then come back. I did that. He made me do that every day. The second day, I rolled a little farther, 5 times, 6 times. Some days when it was below zero outside, it was hard to do, but the training never stopped. I finally had to roll about 20 times through the deep snow and run back to the house. It was a wonder I never got frostbite. One part of Grandfather Yellowtail's own program for healthy living was to take a cold bath every morning of the year, summer and winter. Naturally, he would take me along. In the wintertime, he had to chop holes in the ice that covered the Little Horn River so that he could water his horses. Every morning, after opening the holes, he would get in and take a dip, and then he made me get in there too. The river water ran really fast past that hole, creating a powerful suction. He would hold me and dip me in and out, and then he'd head for the home. The river was about 150 yards from the door of the house. Our feet would have frozen by the time we got back, so we had to wear overshoes. But I tell you, some mornings when we got back from our dip, Grandfather's braids were frozen stiff like 2 sticks. Then he would gently thaw out his braids, otherwise, they would have snapped off. I had to go through that same kind of training every winter while I lived with the Yellowtails. I've always been able to withstand cold weather, and I've never been sick. I think the old Sioux warrior who gave me the name Winterman gave me a good name. Of course, this training of my grandfather Yellowtail also helped. Okay, we're going to stop there for today. Have a good day.